South African Xhosa, popularly called Mandiba, escaped life imprisonment to become a president. The world well-known Nelson Mandela once said, "As I walked out of the door toward the gates that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison." Nelson Mandela could not have fulfilled his fight for freedom and eradication of apartheid if he had remained in prison for the rest of his life. After many years of resentment towards the ruling government for his imprisonment and his refusal to compromise his stance, he finally embraced the opportunity he was offered to represent his people and restore normalcy to South Africa after years of both local and international pressures. The black race of South Africa could not have asked for a better representative other than Nelson Mandela. He dedicated himself to the service of the people, especially the protection of human rights. Globally recognized as Nelson Mandela, his full name was Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, a Xhosa with a clan title named Mandiba. He was born on the 18th of July, 1918 in Transkei, a place in South Africa. He was a lawyer and a human rights activist who fought tirelessly to end apartheid, which had caused a wide margin between the white minority and majority of other tribes who were dominantly the black race. Mandela equipped himself with the right knowledge. He studied law at different times in two universities. The first was University College of Fort Hare and the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, before working as a solicitor in a law firm. He used his skills to speak on behalf of the voiceless, representing several others in court to get justice for the maltreatment melted on them by the ruling white government. However, the law firm gradually went into extinction when the National Party's government asked it to relocate. Mandela joined the African National Congress in 1943 and became one of the founding members of the Youth League in 1944. As a devoted member of the party, he was strongly involved in the resistance against the ruling National Party's apartheid policies, a system that favored and separated the white people from other races. This racial segregation instigated Mandela and his ANC members to plan the overturn of the White National Party, which in the process became unsuccessful. He was elected president of the ANC's Transvaal branch, recounting his involvement in the 1952 Defiance campaign and the 1955 Congress of the People. He rose to prominence. Mandela on numerous occasions was arrested for seditious activities. He was tried for treason for 5 years, but was later freed in 1961 due to a failed prosecution. Going by his release, he again joined another group and led a campaign against the government. The impact of the movement was enormous at the time that he was rearrested and imprisoned in 1962. 8 others that were accused, including Mandela, faced trials on June 12, 1964 in Rivonia and were sentenced to life imprisonment for spearheading a conspiracy to overthrow the state. In his years in prison, Mandela's reputation increased slowly. He was regarded as the most significant black leader in South Africa. His doggedness encouraged his followers to become more resistant as the anti-apartheid movement gathered strength. History said Mandela was adamant to compromise his political position to obtain his freedom. Serving his sentence, Mandela, in his 27th year in prison, was released on February 11, 1990, by President F.W. de Klerk, who was afraid of a possible racial civil war, coupled with incessant international and domestic pressure. Mandela and de Klerk negotiated an end to all forms of apartheid. This agreement led to the 1994 South African multiracial general elections, bringing Mandela as the flag bearer of the African National Congress, who later emerged as the first democratic president of South Africa, striving to attain the goals he and others had set out almost 4 decades earlier. As new president, he sued for peace across the country, tearing apart every means of discrimination. He ensured this through his coalition government by drafting a new constitution. Mandela launched a reconciliation between the country's racial groups. He went on to create the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to investigate previous human rights abuses. After a term in office as the first black head of state, Nelson Mandela rejected his second presidential term and was succeeded by his deputy, Thabo Mbeki. Mandela lived 67 years of devotion to the service of humanity. He died at age 95 on December 5, 2013, leaving an exemplary lifestyle behind. He was widely known as a human rights lawyer, a prisoner of conscience, an international peacemaker, and the first democratically elected president of South Africa. In recognition of his years of hard work, the United Nations General Assembly in November 2009 declared the 18th of July of every year as Nelson Mandela International Day, acknowledging Nelson Mandela's values and his dedication to the service of humanity to kick against poverty and promote social justice, amongst other things. Likewise, using his Nelson Mandela Foundation to combat HIV/AIDS. During his negotiation with the clerk, some labeled him weak for being quick to agree to the White Nationalist Party offer in exchange for his freedom. He maintained a controversial figure for long. However, he gained international respect for his activism. Till today, he is held in deep respect within South Africa and was often regarded by his clan name, Mandiba, and equally praised as the father of the nation. He received over 250 honors, including the Nobel Peace Prize, and he is held in deep respect within South Africa.